Hi, we have an exciting story today from Bedtime Adventures, Fluffy and his friends. And this story is about little Robbie Ranger. One time, there was a ranger named Ranger Bill, and he was in section 360 of the big forest. And Ranger Bill had a couple of jobs. One of the jobs is he had to watch out for all the animals. He was kind of like a shepherd for the animals in that section of the forest that he took care of. And the other job he had was he would sit up in the big high ranger station in his section, and he would look out over the whole forest because he had to make sure there were no fires. And fires are a very dangerous thing in the forest. So he had a very important job. Well, Ranger Bill had another very important thing, and that was his little boy Robbie. Robbie used to love to go to be with his daddy, and he would be with Ranger Bill during those long hours sometimes when he was up in the big high ranger station. Well, Robbie enjoyed going with his daddy so much that his mommy made him a little uniform to look just like his daddy. And all the other rangers, they would call him Little Robbie Ranger. Well, one day, Ranger Bill came up to Robbie and he said, "Robbie, can you do something very, very important for me?" And he said, "Sure, Daddy, I'll do something for you. What would you like me to do?" He said, "Well, I just got a message about something about some bears over in the other side of my section, and I have to go there and drive in the truck. But I need somebody to stay in the ranger station and look over the big forest for me in case there would be a fire. Could you do that for me?" And he said, "Oh, sure, Daddy. I'd love to do that for you." And he said, "You know what to do, right? You've seen me do it before." "Oh, yeah, I know how to turn the big wheel and find the distance and all of that." And he says, "I know you do, and I trust you. But Robbie, there's one thing I have to tell you, a very important thing. There are some times when you work, and then you work, and there's sometimes you play, and then you play. But you always have to remember that a ranger is a ranger on duty. And when you're being a ranger for me, you are a ranger on duty. Do you understand what I mean?" He says, "Yeah, Daddy, I understand." So it won't be a time to play. It's a time when you have to be really alert and look over the forest for me. Can you do that?" He said, "Oh, Daddy, sure, I can do that for you." So Ranger Bill said bye, and he closed the door and he went down the long steps all the way down to the bottom of the tower that they were in. And Robbie was up in the window and he looked down and he saw his daddy drive away in the Jeep. But no sooner had his daddy driven away in the Jeep, he saw his two friends, Jimmy and Mikey. Oh, and he loved these friends, and he used to do all sorts. You know what they really used to like to do? They liked to play marbles together. And the boys knew that he was there, and they called up and they said, "Robbie, come on down and play marbles with us." And he opened the window and he says, "I can't. My daddy wants me to stay up here and watch the forest." And Jimmy said, "Oh, don't worry. Come on down. No one will see you. We're all alone down here." But Robbie said, "Oh, no, I can't. I promised my daddy I'd be up here, and a ranger is a ranger on duty." And he really liked his friends. He wanted to play with them. Then he thought of an idea. He said, "Why don't you come up and play up in the ranger station up here?" And Jimmy and Mikey, they liked that. And so they went up the steps. They went up all the steps, and they got up to the top. And they got inside. Now, when they put out all the marbles on the floor, how they were going to play, and really, Robbie loved playing marbles. But he had to sit in the big chair. It was like a big stool where he could look out all the windows, and there were windows all the way around. And so then Mikey said, "Robbie, it's your turn. Come on down here." And Robbie said, "Oh, I can't come down right now because I have to look at the forest." And Jimmy said, "Don't be silly. Nobody can see you unless he's a bird. Nobody would know that you're not sitting on that silly stool. Come on down here and play marbles with us." And Robbie said, "No, I promised my daddy that I'd be a ranger on duty and I have to sit up in the chair." And so Mikey and Jimmy, they just got kind of peevish. They just thought, oh, this is silly. You're not even going to play with us. So they packed up all their marbles, and then they ran around and they started doing silly things like a bunch of monkeys. They took all the cups from the water thing and they put them on the floor, and they knocked some papers off of Ranger Bill's desk and everything. And finally, it was distracting Robbie so much. He said, we can play tomorrow. You guys have to go right now. Well, we don't want to. You have to go right now. Please go. And they just looked at him and they glared and they said, yeah, we're going now, ex-friend. And they slammed the door on the way out. And poor Robbie felt really bad because he really liked them. And now they were calling him ex-friend and they weren't going to play marbles with him anymore. But Robbie just sat there and he just thought, but I promised my daddy. And my daddy said that a ranger is a ranger on duty, and I have to listen to him, and he's still feeling bad for himself. And as he was thinking about that, he was looking out the window, he stopped. And he looked out there, and it looked like he saw a little puff of gray. Well, he didn't know what it was, but he just thought for the fun of it, he would turn the wheel, and he pointed it right at the gray there. And the more he looked at it, the more he thought, I better tell the big ranger station. So there's a special red phone. He picked up the red phone. He said, hello, this is Little Robbie Ranger in section 360 of the big forest. And there came somebody back to him, and he said, hello, Robbie Ranger in section 360 of the big forest. Do you have anything for us? And he said, I'm not sure, but I think I see a fire out there. He says, thank you, Robbie Ranger in section 360 of the big forest. We understand that you have a possible fire. Can you give me a directional heading and distance on that? And he said, yeah, it looks like it's at about 270 and about 2 miles out. And the man spoke back to Robbie. He says, okay, I understand. There's a possible fire in directional heading 270, about 2 miles out from Ranger Station 360. We will be sending a helicopter out there right away to check on that. Thank you, Robbie Ranger. We'll be getting back to you. And now when Robbie hung up the phone, he took the binoculars and he looked out there, and now he could see it really was a fire. He could see like little orange tongues of flame coming up above the trees and everything. And he looked and he saw a helicopter come from the south, and it came and it went around the fire and it flew around the fire, and then it went back. They must have been going to get help. And just then the door opened of the ranger station, and Ranger Bill came in, and he said, Robbie, did you call in that fire? And he said, yeah, Daddy, it's right over there. And he showed his daddy where it was. And Ranger Bill pulled out the binoculars and he looked out there, and he said, Robbie, it's good that you did that. And he walked over to his desk, and when he walked over to his desk, he kicked something, and it rolled along the floor real fast, and it hit a metal filing cabinet, and he looked down. It was a marble. And he said, Robbie, were you playing up here while I was gone? And he said, no, Daddy. Jimmy and Mikey came and they wanted to play, and I told them I couldn't play, and so they came. I thought they could play up here, but I couldn't because I couldn't take my eyes off the trees and everything, and so they got mad at me and they went home and they said I couldn't be their friend anymore. So Ranger Bill made a couple more calls, and by now you could see all of the helicopters coming out, and there were even big planes that were starting to fly over and dropping like orange stuff. I don't know, I guess that's what makes the fires go out in forests and that. But there was nothing they could do anymore because they were far away from it. So Ranger Bill looked at Robbie and he said, Robbie, you did a good job today. You were a ranger on duty. He said, I have one more thing I need you to help me with. Do you think you can do that? He said, sure, Daddy, what's that? And he says, well, on the way home, I thought what I need to do is I need to go home and get a banana, on the way home, get a banana split, and I need someone to help me eat it. Could you help me do that? What do you think Robbie said? Robbie said, sure, Daddy, I'd love to help you eat a banana split. And that's what they did. They went home and they celebrated that Robbie, because he was so alert and he wouldn't let himself get distracted, he helped save the big forest from a major fire, because Robbie learned an important lesson, that when you're on duty as a ranger, you are a ranger on duty.